Just before the visit to Osaka in Japan, Putin gave an interview to the Financial Times. Pavel asks, and 44 more people like this question. The domestic mass media reports Putin announced the end of Liberalism era by this interview given on the eve of the G20 summit. Whom is this message for? And what does it indicate? How to ensure safety and prevent mass sabotage acts aimed at destroying infrastructure, as it was at the Sayano-Shushenskaya hydroelectric power station. Surely, liberals are on the watch, aren't they?
Liberals, of course, are on alert. The issue is the following. Financial Times represents the media of global significance level. That is, they are in charge of leaking information related to global governance. Liberalism should have crushed traditional states in the Western Europe. Liberalism should have created new nations, languages, and states by bringing alien population into Europe. However, as the saying goes, easier said than done. During the construction of European Islamic Caliphate, it became clear that many problems still have not been solved, and most importantly, Russia has not been restructured. Russia is still a subject of global politics, and under the leadership of Государь President Putin, it conducts independent policy and solves internal issues through global foreign policy. A lot of people say Putin doesn't pay enough attention to domestic affairs. In fact, he does pay attention and does it a lot. But it needs to be understood without solving external tasks of global significance, without obtaining a certain position in the world, governing superstate processes, Russia will not be able to solve domestic problems also. It is raising a question at the global level that lets Russia to solve internal problems by the means of global governance and various country elites. For example, we have a huge problem with the export of timber to China. But few people know that the corrupt officials engaged in such predacious timber export to China are sentenced to death in China. We are making only first steps in criminal prosecution of such criminals, establishing state control in this area. China has already taken under control the timber trade with all limitations laid by circumstances. If not for that, the corrupt officials, both in Russia and China, would have left Russia without forests a long time ago. Forest is being cut truly predaciously. Russian corrupt officials do not care about Russia whatsoever. Same as Chinese corrupt officials, they are ready to turn Russia into a lifeless field. They think, I will make a fortune here, run away to Europe, buy a house on the Riviera, and live happily ever after. However, they forget that Europe is up for restructuring. So Europe should have been swept away by liberalism, which includes within also a multiculturalism. However, Russia still stands. Russia continues to be the subject of governance. The global elite and anti-Russia-oriented country elites have to preserve Western Europe as much as possible to keep the pressure on Russia. There is the extermination mechanism of nations' cultural identities, national states, established in Europe. This mechanism is unacceptable for Russia. But now even globalists have to reject it. They have to pull back and say, no, now Western states must be preserved as much as possible, till the very moment when Russia collapses and will be dismantled into many so-called sovereign souvenir states. Only then it will be possible to restructure Europe again. When could Russia be reorganized and dismembered to those souvenir states? Only when Russia solves the problem of the world's governance stability, when Russia pulls the world back from the edge of the environmental, economic, and military political catastrophe. Only Russia can do this. Namely, only Putin can accomplish this. Presently, Putin is like an icon of the world's movement towards its own salvation. For the moment, Europe's self-destruction is postponed. It is quite natural that a European leader must announce the end of the era of liberalism. After all, Europe needs stabilization. Who could announce that? Nobody but Russia, which in the eyes of the people worldwide preserves native traditional values and represents a cornerstone of stability for saving cultural identities for all nations on the planet Earth. Naturally, Putin was given this opportunity to set this task through the Financial Times. That is, Europe must preserve its cultural identity and national states. Do European countries' elites like it? If they like it, then they have to normalize relations with Russia, as Hungary does. If they don't like it, if they want to be wiped off by alien language, alien race, alien culture, mixed-tribe crowd, then they will be wiped off. That alien crowd already flooded Europe. But there still is a chance for Europe to stabilize itself and engage in their own cultural renaissance. Naturally, liberals worldwide, not in Russia, don't accept the idea of cultural identity. Why? Because they are faggots. It is important for them to reject not only an ethnic and cultural identity, but a biological identity too. God created men and women. Liberals come up with 54 sexes so far. Eradicate human essence. That is important for them. Look what they did in Crimea. A man is under investigation. He stole 200 million rubles. No problem. As long as you hate Russia, do whatever you like, destroy Russia, and you are free to go. Or another case. Here's a poisoner. He poisons people. Judge. What is the deal? This poisoner is not a threat to public safety. Police are unfair to him. Why are you trying to arrest such an exemplary citizen who just poisons people? This judge just came short of putting a red carpet and leaking it all the way for the guy. This is one example of a law enforcement activity. They don't notice that the law of Russia is broken in Crimea. Propaganda of homosexualism among children is forbidden. That kind of propaganda should not take place at all. But the judge let go of the man who proved his hatred towards Russia. He steals money, let him go, so he would continue to destroy Russia, to kill the future of Russia. And now let's look at the arrest of Viktor Alexeyevich Yefimov. It is an absolutely made-up situation. The court in session. What are we going to charge him with? How are we going to charge him? Go, think one more time, make up the charge and come back. What? No, that is not gonna work. Think again and propose something else. The man is in prison and has been in jail for more than 6 months for no reason. The criminal gang, comprised of the prosecutor, the investigator, and the judge, is discrediting the law enforcement system of Russia in order to make people who support the conception of social safety come out to the streets for anti-Russian, anti-state Maidan to take part in a state coup. They don't understand that people who support the conception of social safety, cannot be against the state a priori. They won't go to the streets. They won't be part of a state coup. There are other ways to protect Viktor Alexeyevich, and we use these lawful ways. But I repeat, there is a criminal gang made up of the prosecutor, the investigator, and the judge. That group is discrediting the Russian law enforcement system, the Russian state. It is a state treason. Why isn't FSB taking action? It is related to an issue of liberals' resistance. Treating Viktor Yefimov with reckless violation of law is a manifestation of liberals' resistance. In this case, all attempts by liberals to speak out against Putin will be cancelled out from outside by the means of global governance and the country elites who control our liberal circles in order to avoid technological catastrophes similar to Sayano-Shushenskaya hydropower station accident. The situation has changed. These moron libertards in Russia don't understand that they bite the hand that feeds all humanity on planet Earth. Do you think they will be forgiven by the American country elite, not to mention the global one, if they finally reach their goal? Americans think they will be safe across the pond. But the issue is that liberalism put the United States themselves at the edge of the catastrophe. Liberal fascism is in full swing. LGBT community dictates its rules. They have already hold sway over the country. This sexual harassment wore everybody out with things like, around 50 years ago he did something, I'm not sure what exactly, but he needs to be in jail because I said so. I'm a woman and he is a man. Or, he was staring at me for 7.5 seconds, maybe even 15 seconds, thus he harassed me. Did he see her? Or maybe he watched something behind her or next to her. That is why it is a global agenda for all world elites. If you want to survive, if you want to save your countries, you must crash liberalism. And you must start by crashing it inside of Russia. That means crash all the Americans like us and the other corrupt officials who are destroying Russia for the benefit of their masters, for the benefit of cut green paper, that they are paid for destroying Russians and the living space of Russia altogether.